Power panel now. Sean Duffy, Fox News contributor and former Wisconsin congressman. Wendy Osefo, professor of education at Johns Hopkins University. Wendy, Sean, good to see you both. This is a little bit like dim on dim crime, Sean, going after each other, and it doesn't sound like Manchin's going to budge.
No, I don't think he is. But you know what? Bernie Sanders says this is unacceptable to the president and Democrats in Congress. But it is acceptable for voters in West Virginia. You have to remember that this is a Republican state, West Virginia. This is coal country. This $3.5 trillion is the Green New Deal that will attack the very jobs of people in West Virginia. So I think you have Manchin saying it's not going to be $3.5 trillion, but I don't think conservatives should celebrate yet, Harris, because he's still going to do a $1.5 to $2.5 trillion massive bill, and the consequences of that are going to be grave. You're going to see inflation because we're going to monetize our debt as a country, or you're going to see taxes not just on the rich, but on every single American to pay for this massive spending.
Yeah, and when you say inflation, you mean more. Because if you filled up at the pump lately or bought a loaf of bread, it's all over. You know, Wendy, I actually caught a different part of what Senator Manchin was saying in his multiple interviews yesterday. I caught the part that they're rushing toward an arbitrary date. We just saw that with Afghanistan. Is that what's happening again?
I don't think they're rushing towards an arbitrary date. I think what's happening is they understand the dire need for this bill to be passed. When you look at the contents of the bill and what's inside of it, it addresses unemployment. It addresses child nutrition. I mean, there are things in there that are consequential to the American people. So we're trying to get this passed as soon as possible. What I do think that needs to be done for the Democrats is they need to come to a common ground to pass this bill and to make sure that all elements within it address the needs of the American people, because we can no longer bifurcate the needs of the American people. We need to address them and address them head on.
Sean?
So what's happening here is you have, by the end of the month, Democrats want to pass this bill, but they also have to fund the government, Harris. Government funding runs out at the end of September. And what's happening is there's a political timetable. Once you get into the end of 2021, into 2022, all of a sudden the politics of the next cycle start to take over, and this becomes a far more toxic bill for so many more moderate members. You have Joe Manchin. He's the only one that could tank the bill in the Senate. But Nancy Pelosi can only lose 3 Democrats in the House before this thing fails. And so there's a lot of blue dog Democrats in the House that don't want to vote for this in 2022. That's why they're rushing it in September of 2021. I
want to get to this real quickly, Sean. Didn't mean to cut in. Senator Manchin also sparring with Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, because you mentioned the House. So let's see this. AOC, as she calls herself, tweeted this. Manchin has weekly huddles with Exxon and is one of many senators who gives lobbyists their pen to write so-called bipartisan fossil fuel bills. Manchin responded with this yesterday.
I keep my door open for everybody. It's totally false. And those type of superlatives, it's just awful. Continue to divide, divide, divide. She's just speculating and saying things because she wants.
Right back to that term I used, dim on dim crime. Wendy?
Well, let it be noted that he didn't deny it. What he did say is he keeps his doors open to everybody. And when you do keep your doors open to everybody, you have to be mindful of what that may look like and how you may look like you're playing political football with the lives of the American people. So I think that it's a deeper conversation about who politicians are lending their ear to and who has an ear to the politicians and a direct phone call to them. Because we want to make sure that when we are passing bills and we're putting agendas forward, it's for the people, not for
So do you agree with AOC?
It's not that I necessarily agree with her, but Manchin didn't deny what she said either. He said he keeps his door open. So, he said it from his own mouth.
Sean?
Of course. I mean, West Virginia is an energy state. Of course, Joe Manchin is going to meet with the energy industry and see how legislation will impact the jobs in his community, number one. But number two, AOC attacking Joe Manchin is beautiful for Joe Manchin. This is great politics for him. He wants the far left of the Democrat Party to attack him because that appeases Republicans that he needs to vote for him in West Virginia. So by and large, AOC is only helping Joe Manchin.
So, I'm curious. I'm not hearing Kyrsten Sinema. I'm not hearing some of those other names who might be moderates. Where are they? Wendy?
That's a great question. I think that what's happening here is they're trying to stay under the radar just for a little bit. But I also
but if you don't have their support, it won't matter that they stayed under the radar. So somebody's got to be, doing a wellness check on them to see who might side with Manchin.
Absolutely, but what I'm hearing from my connections is that a lot of people are laying their head down because they're actually trying to take this time to read what's inside the bill, because they're trying to go towards, they're trying to go towards this date.
Speaker
and they're trying to keep their
Pelosi,
head
hope
down,
she doesn't think that we'll find out what's in another one after it passes. All right, good to see you both. Thank you.